Apparently it was prom.
It wasn't real.
It wasn't live. Good evening. We are live. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. Will you please rise with me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. This part of our meeting, we remember those members of our community who've passed since our last regular meeting. We lost since our last meeting Len Andrew, longtime resident, friend to many, most recently a resident at Kendall on Hudson. And at least to me anyway, sudden and unexpected. Sorry for that loss. And also we lost Linda DiCostanzo of Valley Street at the relatively young age of 70. And again, our thoughts are with their family and their friends. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, first up, we have a public hearing, continuation of a public hearing on changes to the zoning. Is anyone here to address the board? And while you're thinking about that, I'll ask Joan, could you read the notice of public hearing, please?
Please take notice that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow will continue a public hearing on Tuesday, July 27th, 2021 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter at the Village Hall located at 28 Beacon Avenue in Sleepy Hollow to hear and consider comments from the members of the public on the proposed local law entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 450 of the Code of the Village of Sleepy Hollow entitled Zoning, pertaining to the proposed zoning revisions. All residents and taxpayers are entitled to attend and be heard at said hearing. Village Hall is accessible to all disabled persons by the order of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. I see no one other than staff in the room this evening. I'd like to just continue the public hearing for at least another week. Can I get, I just would like to adjourn it and we will reconvene the public hearing. We'll keep it open at least until next Tuesday evening, or the following Tuesday evening if later on in this meeting we decide that we're not meeting next Tuesday. So we'll keep it open until further notice.
So moved.
We might as well do a somebody moved, you moved to adjourn?
Moved. Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing is adjourned. We will accept any written comments at our various emails, or you can send them to the village clerk or the assistant clerk at their email addresses, which are on the website. And those will be included in the record. We look forward to your comments. All right, we have a warrant that was distributed earlier, a big one in that it's $993,069.69. If there were any questions, the treasurer was not able to be with us tonight. If there were any questions, I assume that you had an opportunity to address them to the treasurer earlier. Anything anybody wants to raise with other members of the board? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the warrant.
Motion to approve the warrant.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? The warrant is approved. Somewhere Sarah's saying thank you. You're welcome, Sarah. The minutes of July 20th were also distributed earlier. Any edits, changes needed to the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of July 20th.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions?
Abstain?
Please note the abstention for the record. And the deputy mayor, and the minutes are approved. I've got a few announcements. Just once again, I would urge people to sign up for the village emails on our website, and also to check out the website for upcoming events. We're back on this year, as we've said in earlier meetings, for all of the events that we normally do in the fall. So in September and in October and into November. And we're kind of looking forward to, no, not kind of, we are really looking forward to that, and looking forward to the opportunity to be with y'all at those events as well. There was an LDC meeting, a local development corporation meeting last night. Just a couple of updates on what's going on there. As you know, the importation of fresh, clean soil has ended, and we're waiting for the ground to settle, and it is doing it at a remarkable pace. There are parts of that huge pile of dirt there that have dropped 4 feet already. So it's really pushed a lot of that water out from underneath. The places around the edges where it's only dropped a couple of inches, the average is about 2 feet across the whole piece. We will probably be finished with this part of it, of the settlement, in late fall if things continue the way they are. We'll know. The reason it's a probably is you wait until it's not really settling anymore, or on a very, very slight level, and then we could go forward with putting things on top of it. What will happen then is the remaining soil will be that's not needed on that pile will be removed. The soil that's on top of where the road goes will be removed and distributed to other sites, other places throughout the common. The LDC will be in front of the planning board in September with phase 2, which basically is the roads and some of the plumbing, I'll call it, so that there's water distribution throughout the site, and the swale along the train track. So critical pieces, not terribly exciting pieces. However, once the road is done, there'll be a way for people to go through the site. So that'll be kind of nice to open it up for that. Two other things. We reported earlier this year that Metro North was concerned about the viaduct and it collapsing onto Metro North trains and onto their tracks and wreaking all kinds of havoc. We jumped on it right away, or rather we got our engineers to jump on it right away and devise a plan to temporarily prop up a portion of the viaduct that they were concerned about. And then we waited for months for Metro North to approve the plan so we could get in and adjust this emergency situation. And they finally did that. The work has now been completed, the concrete forms have been poured, and we're nearing the end of the 7-day period, if we haven't already, where the concrete would be fully cured. But it looks like that's done. And lastly, we addressed the architectural firm decision in our meeting last week and directed the LDC to move forward with negotiations with Sage & Coombe, and they are doing that now.
So Ken, what about the viaduct that, did they notice? Was it crumbling? Did it, like, all of a sudden they shared that they had this concern?
There's one of the
happening?
steel uprights, Mr. McCarthy, there's some technical term that's not upright, but one of the Column, thank you. All right, when in doubt, go with something simple. And so one of the columns was buckling at the bottom, visibly buckling. And it had kind of like a wave in it, like it was, you know, which is not good.
No.
There was only one, but Metro North was concerned about that. We had people inspecting the viaduct for a while, so it looks like it was something that took a long time to happen, but was relatively recent. So that's the reason for the alarm, I think.
So they inspect that periodically to notice something like that? You know, I mean, how do you just notice this little buckle down in a certain area? So do they check it regularly? Are there trying to understand, like, we fixed this, but obviously there could be other things that could pop up over time, so.
Yeah, it would need a follow-up inspection.
Okay. For
Which,
that and other parts of the viaduct?
Correct.
Okay.
so there are inspections roughly every couple of weeks to take a look at it. The engineers go through and take a look at it, and obviously there's been a lot more eyes on it the last few months.
Okay.
The next step is to take the whole thing down.
Well, that's.
This is just to prop it up to make sure that it doesn't fall while we're waiting for approval to take it down.
Well, that was kind of where it was I mean, maybe it's too premature to have that conversation, but, who's spending the money on propping this up? And
We did it through the LDC.
Sure.
It's on their property. And we already have plans for the removal of the viaduct.
okay,
They haven't been put out to bid yet because there's that critical issue of exactly who is going to pay for that.
right.
And because that is in various ways tied to the future sale of the
Mhm.
property there, the former UAW building.
Okay,
That's one of the things that's still being worked out.
okay. It's a shame when you start to throw.
It should be
I
good
mean, you
for,
have to do it for safety, but.
it should be good for years. And hopefully we don't have to find
wait
out,
for it, Right,
because
okay.
we'd love to have it down now.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add something to your announcements, a brief little thing about the recreation?
Now we're going to move on to announcements from the deputy
I think
mayor.
I forgot to ask.
It's a new part of our meeting, but
I just wanted to remind everybody that the Recreation Department is having a band and, the party in the park tomorrow night down at Moran's Landing from 6 to 8. There's a band and there's like some kids' activities, but also the Recreation Department has allowed the Sleepy Hollow football boosters to do a food truck fundraiser tomorrow as well. So we'll have 2 food trucks down there who will be donating a percentage of their sales back to the Sleepy Hollow football boosters. So I hope that people will come down and get some food, some ice cream, listen to some great music, and support the boosters and the rec department as well.
and have fun.
And have fun. Thank you.
Okay. Great. We will move on to department head reports, and this evening we will have one, and that is from our police chief, Chief Boetti.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's summer's progressing nicely. A little,
Progress.
much more humid this year than last year.
And allergy season. Ugh.
Yeah, it's been rough. Just want to start off by thanking the officers for the job they did in the unfortunate incident we had a month ago. We did secure an indictment for manslaughter in the first degree, amongst other charges. But they did an excellent job showing up, securing the scene, locating the subject within hours. We had him in custody within 12 hours. And of course, they quickly recovered vital evidence that's been helping the prosecution. We're continuing our walking patrol on weekends. We're going to step it up and try to have 2 officers down there every night, more exposure to the community, getting more feedback from them. 4th of July fireworks display was extremely well attended this year. We didn't have any significant incidents to report, other than it did take quite a bit longer to clear the roadway of traffic due to, attendance not only from our village, but Terrytown also saw an influx. Our parks revenue is up about $5,000 from last year, and we're equating that to, last year we started it 2 weeks later due to the COVID restrictions. So we think that is, otherwise July is almost on par where we were 2 years ago in July. With that, as the mayor said, we're back. We're planning our fall festivities, so we have started reviewing our plans of 2 years ago, because obviously last year we didn't have it, just to make them more efficient, see if we missed anything, any notes that we had, just to improve them for this upcoming year. We're sending our officers that are trained in school resource officers to 2 different training courses. One is safeguarding students with disability, and it's designed specifically to educate the officers on developmental needs and features of both invisible and visible children with special needs. The second is how to de-escalate high-tension situations within the schools. I thought that was a very excellent training, and we have 2 officers going to both of the trainings, not the same officers, but we fix it up. Currently working with the DA's office and getting a committee, the DA's investigator's office, a committee in regards to community policing, trying to, at the very least, just form a committee to bounce ideas off of each other, see what works and what doesn't work in other places, but with the grand idea of having a county-wide community policing day. We're scheduled to meet for our first meeting next week, but it's showing some promise.
So Chief, that, if I may, it also sounds like it really supports one of the pillars that we talked about as a recommendation at the police reform.
Yes.
And just kind of keeping that on the forefront for everybody. There's, how many recommendations do we have? 5, 6 different ones? And that in particular was important to kind of surface how we were going to collaborate with the DA's office. And maybe when we're doing that too, and if you need any support from myself being on the committee, just taking a look at some of the resources, and we can bring that back to the committee, because that I remember one of the things as well, because just coming from that form that we had put together, there's really certain things that the DA's office is responsible for, where a lot of times, people wonder why our officers don't do on a local level. Well, it's because it's more jurisdiction. So it's about an education and what there are in services. So I know you've been working on that. So if you need any leg in kind of supporting that, let me know.
Just on that also, I think my last report has spoke about hopes, not handcuffs.
Yes.
There's several other, I think 17 other police departments. We are having a press conference on Monday announcing it, just to get it out there more. We all decided collectively, the 17, that we haven't gotten the response we wanted, so we start advertising, pushing it out more into the communities where they're signed up for that program.
So is that something that we want to get out to the residents at all, just to understand
Yes,
going on
we
there
did
as well?
post it. We're waiting for, there was 3 or 4 other departments.
Let's
that-
continue that conversation elsewhere and
Okay,
finish your
sure.
report, and
Sure.
we'll follow up with that.
That sounds good.
So COVID numbers, right now we're at 7, which is an increase from last month, but last month we were at 2, if I remember correctly, so it's still an increase. We're still waiting to hear for the CDC's new recommendations for wearing masks. Traditionally, the way it works is CDC comes out with it, the state decides what parts of it they're they'll adopt or not, and follow those guidelines. Finally, we've been working the past 5 years to reduce our carbon footprint downstairs. We started off with lighting. We changed our light bulbs because downstairs we do 24/7 operation, so they're on continuously. We have recently just went to automated systems for our forms, time off forms to end the paper trail. And currently we are researching hybrid vehicles and we are waiting an answer back from Ford on how they regenerate their batteries. 7 years ago, Ford said you needed to be traveling over 40 miles per hour to get a true charge on it. They introduced new technology last year where they're going to use the braking system and transmission system to recharge the batteries. So we're waiting to see on how much of a brake. Do you need to brake from 40, or is it braking from 10 or 15? To do it to see if it's a viable option for our new patrol vehicles.
Do you have any vehicle purchases coming up?
Foreshadowing for a capital project?
Let's wait and see what the capital budget request is on
Yeah.
that one.
Well, because I heard our friends in Irvington bought a Tesla for their
Hastings.
police department. Was it Hastings?
These things. And
Yeah. Have you heard anything about it?
They,
Let's not give him any ideas, okay? Just put your
they are
request
having
together and,
issues- Having
Yeah.
issues in this summer with the battery charging because of the heat and the air conditioning. But it is a good idea.
so other than your wish list, what else is on,
That pretty much sums up my report for
okay?
the evening.
Thank you, Chief. And our congratulations and thanks as well to the officers involved in catching the alleged killer of that young man.
Right, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Terrytown and Mount Pleasant. They were vital in helping us out, as well as the Greenberg Drug and Alcohol Task Force and the FBI Safe Streets.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any,
Thank you, Chief.
any questions
No,
or
the
other comments for
only
the?
other thing I wanted to compliment too, when you were talking about more officers on the street, I've also seen them on bikes too.
Yes.
And they seem very happy.
Yeah.
And it's a nice, it's just a nice feeling when you're walking around, you see them out there, so thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, we'll move on to public comments. If you wish to address the board, you may do so. Please be reminded that while you can address any subject you choose, you're limited to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. As you know, please try to use the microphone dangling over your head in the middle of the room there.
Nice, that's it. Good evening, I'm Kirsten Harris from 47 DePeyster Street. I came to make comments, 2 different things, but I wanted to add a third. And it's just echoing what was said to Chief Weddy in terms of just this past week, I noticed even more police in town walking and on bikes, and it makes me smile every time I see that, so I just want to give a shout out to that. I sent 2 emails to the Board of Trustee members that you've received yesterday and today, but I just wanted to summarize briefly. The first was a comment related to the zoning revisions that I know everyone's worked really hard on, and I'm excited that they're getting to the finish line, and there's more work to continue after. And my one comment there was just related specifically to the incentive related to affordable housing, and that I feel like the current language is a little vague and could be specified more. It makes reference to the Westchester County standard, but if you go to their website, then it's, well, which percent of AMI are we talking about? So just to specify that more. And hopefully actually maybe in the future think about having an affordable housing ordinance like many other municipalities do in Westchester. I noticed we're one of the few that doesn't, so I feel like there's more work that we could do there. And I sent you links that you can look at. The other thing I wanted to just state for the record was related to the Route 9 and kind of recent correspondence with the DOT and some progress made on actually a very small crosswalk painting that's missing and looks like will happen. But it also looked like it's a possibility if there are some low-hanging fruit and pavement that's missing elsewhere, that this would be a time to gather a list and communicate that to them, because they will have a crew coming out here sometime later this year to do those things. And I know that's apart from all the bigger vision and the bigger improvements that are more important that we also want to keep seeing. And so we want to do anything we can to make those things happen. And we've got, I know many concerned citizens that would be happy to support the village in that, however they can.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Elizabeth Tucker at 135 Gordon Avenue. I also sent an email a couple of days ago regarding this crosswalk at Lawrence Avenue, Route 9 in Lawrence, which after several emails and phone calls with the DOT, we found out that they actually now are going, they put it back on the agenda, it will be painted, they can't specify at what time. And there will be, they're offering us the opportunity to present other painting jobs, other intersections that can be addressed at the same time. So this is like, please can we be organized and get together and find all of them that need to be done now and present them with a nice, clear work list so that we can address these issues. I also just, through the years working, trying to get pedestrian crossing signal at Pearson, that is functioning wonderfully now. Lawrence will be wonderful when it gets painted. It takes so much effort. I'm a single working mom. I don't have time to make these phone calls or to learn all the necessary details. However, it seems to me that the Route 9 Active Plan is intended to address all of these issues in one fell swoop. The research has already been done. The suggestions have already been made. We don't need me, not putting the kids to bed in order to come here. Like, it would be to all of our benefit to approve this plan. The work has already been done. Let's just give it the support that it needs. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you for finding the time. We appreciate it. Okay, I don't see anybody else, unless Kirsten, you had thought of something else. Okay, just remind you both that we have another opportunity later on in the evening, and towards the end or at the end of our meeting. Okay, we will move on to resolutions, of which we have a ton this evening.
Yeah, we've counted.
I'm happy to start with Resolution 1, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing submission of a community development block grant application for North Washington/Valley Street drainage improvements. Whereas preliminary cost estimates totaling $880,200 have been prepared for the North Washington Valley Street drainage improvement project, and whereas on July 13th, 2021, a public hearing was held to receive public input on the village's planned application for community development block grant funding. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow does hereby authorize the village administrator to submit an application for $250,000 in funds from the Westchester County Community Development Block Grant Program, and upon the funding of said amount, commits to provide $630,200 in matching funds. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby authorize the village administrator, upon approval of said application, to enter into and execute a grant agreement for such financial assistance. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing submission of a community development block grant application for the Valley Street Streetscape project. Whereas preliminary cost estimates totaling $898,887.50 have been prepared for the Valley Street Streetscape project. And whereas on July 13th, 2021, a public hearing was held to receive public input on the village's planned application for community development block grant funding. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow does hereby authorize the village administrator to submit an application for $250,000 in funds from the Westchester County Community Development Block Grant Program, and upon the funding of said amount commits to provide $648,887.50 in matching funds. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby authorize the village administrator, upon approval of said application, to enter into and execute a grant agreement for such financial assistance. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing submission of a community development block grant application for the downtown pipe relining project. Whereas preliminary cost estimates totaling $693,500 has been prepared for the downtown pipe relining project. And whereas on July 13, 2021, a public hearing was held to receive public input on the village's planned application for community development block grant funding. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow does hereby authorize the village administrator to submit an application for $250,000 in funds from the Westchester County Community Development Block Grant Program, and upon funding of said amount, commits to provide $443,500 in matching funds. And be it resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby authorize the village administrator, upon approval of said application, to enter into and execute a grant agreement for such financial assistance. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
A resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing submission of CFA grant application to fund Ichabod's Landing bulkhead repair. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby requests financial assistance from the New York State Environmental Protection Fund, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, or EPF LWRP. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow certifies that it has identified and secured $382,750 of matching funds from the capital budget pursuant to the requirements of the grant program. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby authorizes Anthony Giacchio, Village Administrator, an official or employee, to act on its behalf in submittal of an application through the consolidated funding application for $1,148,250 to be used for the Ichabod Landing bulkhead repairs. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Resolution 5, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing submission of a CFA grant application to fund Climate Action Plan. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby requests financial assistance from the New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant Program, CSC. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow certifies that it has identified and secured $75,000 of matching funds from the capital budget pursuant to the requirements of the grant program. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby authorizes Anthony Giacchio, Village Administrator, an official or employee, to act on its behalf in submittal of an application through the consolidated funding application for $75,000 to be used for the development of a climate action plan in pursuit of the Village's Climate Smart Silver certification. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The resolution's approved.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow authorizing submission of CFA grant application to fund wastewater infrastructure planning project. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby requests financial assistance from the New York State Environmental Protection Fund Wastewater Infrastructure Engineering Planning Grant Program, EPF, EPG, and whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow certifies that it has identified and secured $25,000 of matching funds from the capital budget pursuant to the requirements of the grant program. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby authorizes Anthony Giacchio, Village Administrator, an official or employee, to act on its behalf in submittal of an application through the consolidated funding application for $25,000 to be used to hire a consultant to produce an engineering report for the village's sanitary sewer system. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Resolution number 7.
Sorry, just wanted to interrupt for a second. Jared, if you could speak into the mic a little softer or pull it away from you a tiny
So
All
it
right,
can't ever be
for
right.
those of you out there, that is our very able sound and video man, Michael Lavoy, and reminding us to speak clearly and, well, he didn't say succinctly, but speak clearly into the microphone. Everybody
it was
except for
too-
Mike.
It was too
for-
loud, apparently. No, it's always too low.
You lean in like,
Well, it's always too low, but now it's too loud, so.
You'll
I
get it
don't know.
right.
No, if you're close to it, just use a softer voice. If you're close to it and loud, that's not good.
I feel like it's good.
Okay.
it's really kind of cool to have this voice coming out of the wall.
It's like Michael speaking from the heavens. Thank you.
Okay.
And let your conscience be your
I
guide.
Yeah.
know, right? That's what it feels like.
Right.
All right. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approving submission of grant applications. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow and the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Corporation, SHLDC, are financing a project known as Sleepy Hollow Common on the east parcel of the former General Motors site. And whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby requests financial assistance from the New York State Empire State Development Grant Funds Program and Environmental Protection Fund. And whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow, in cooperation with the SHLDC, is willing and able to meet the match requirements for the requested funding sources. Now therefore be it resolved that the village is hereby authorized to apply for financial assistance from Empire State Development and the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation through the 2021 New York State Consolidated Funding Application Process to support activities that will advance the Sleepy Hollow Common Project. So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this resolution as it stands would support an application because there is no amount.
Hold on.
And I think if we just said is hereby authorized to apply for financial assistance in an amount not to exceed,
For in an amount not to exceed $40 million, right? That has got to be such a ceiling that there's, you think that's too low?
I mean, what's the bridge gonna cost? Right.
12,
Yeah.
14,
Yeah.
so, okay, $85 million. How's that? There's no way. Mr. McCarthy, do you think that's a high enough ceiling that we're well within? Yeah. Would you amend the resolution to include in an amount not to exceed $85 million? Yeah.
Can I just say so moved? That sounds good.
Just say yes.
Yes.
And then,
Not to exceed 85 million.
and who seconded that?
Me.
Okay.
I continue to
So,
second.
as amended, we'll just, had not yet voted, so we'll just, any further discussion?
So just, there's nothing specific on the radar
Right.
yet. This is just, should something come up that we need to apply for the grant.
Yes, there are various grant opportunities, some with a consolidated funding application, others through the Empire State Development, and still others that within various parts of the state. And it's kind of like, go out there and, bring us back as much as you possibly can from every available source.
Okay.
That's one way to read this. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed or abstentions? Resolution is approved.
So is it?
Who wants to read the next one?
I got it.
Okay. This makes sense.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approving submission of grant application. Whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow and the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Corporation are financing a project known as Sleepy Hollow Common on the east parcel of the former General Motors site. And whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby requests financial assistance from the New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant Program pursuant to Environmental Conservation Law, Article 54, Title 15. And whereas the Village of Sleepy Hollow certifies that it has identified $927,550 of matching funds, which funds are expected to be issued by the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Corporation pursuant to the requirements of Environmental Conservation Law, Article 54, Title 15. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Sleepy Hollow Board of Trustees hereby authorizes submission of a Climate Smart Communities application through the Consolidated Funding application requesting $927,550 in grant funds to advance the Sleepy Hollow Common project. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Resolution 9, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow setting policy. Be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow prohibits its employees, officers, and agents from displaying or placing in or on village-owned property, including vehicles, any type of symbols, images, objects, words, or phrases, unless previously authorized by the Board of Trustees via a duly adopted resolution or otherwise required by law. So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow setting meetings schedule for August 2021, not 2020. Be it resolved that the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow set the following Board of Trustees meeting schedule for August of 2021 as follows. August 3rd is a work session. August 10th, there is no meeting. August 17th, there is no meeting. August 24th, there is a board meeting. And August 31st, there is a work session. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The resolution's approved. Ms. Bucci, would you make sure that that gets up on the website and that it gets out in an email as well? Thank you.
Okay, resolution number 11, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approving agreement. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby ratifies an agreement with Local 456, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Chauffeurs, Warehousemen, and Helpers of America, resolving AAA case number 01-20-0015-5837. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Okay.
Resolution 12, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow ratifying agreement. Whereas on June 29th, 2021, the Board of Trustees ratified an agreement with Local 456, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Chauffeurs, Warehousemen, and Helpers of America, resolving AAA case number 01-21-0000-0059, resolution of June 7th, 2021. And whereas resolution 06/77/2021. And whereas resolution 06/77/2021 inadvertently did not accurately describe the agreement on which the board voted, be it resolved that the June 29th, 2021 meeting minutes are hereby modified to reflect that resolution 06/77/2021 read as follows. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby ratifies an agreement with Local 456, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Chauffeurs, Warehousemen, and Helpers of America, resolving AAA case number 01-21-0000-0059. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
6-77-7.
It
Is that a
didn't-
date? Is that a number, serial
Yeah.
number?
So it didn't reference the
Got it.
settlement correctly.
Okay, but that's, we can so move it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we already voted
Yes.
to accept it. And
I just didn't know if there was
Yeah,
an error. with
and
that.
it just,
Okay.
in rereading it, someone caught a clerical error.
Oh, it has to be stated.
So
that way.
wanted to go back and make sure that it was done correctly.
Okay, thank you.
So, a clerical error, I should say, is not necessarily something that comes out of the clerk's office. It could have come from the administrator, and it could have even come from the law firm that represents the village. So,
Mr. Mayor, I was thinking the same thing, and I was thinking, I'm just thankful that our law firm did not do it.
You paid
all right,
attention
I
to that.
restate that law firms that represent the village.
We have to vote.
Okay.
I think we do.
Yeah, we have,
Resolution 14.
wait. Don't we have to vote?
Oh, did we vote?
We did
All in
not.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Okay, the resolution's approved. Because otherwise, we'd have to come back and
Do
Yes.
that
yet again.
crazy one.
Yes.
Too many numbers.
Okay, Resolution 14, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow hiring seasonal staff for the Department of Public Works. Whereas the Department of Public Works Assistant Highway Foreman has conducted interviews for a seasonal position, and whereas the Assistant Highway Foreman has recommended that Renee Kinde of Sleepy Hollow, New York be hired on a seasonal basis not to exceed 16 weeks. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow hereby approves the Assistant Highway Foreman's recommendation of Renee Kinde of Sleepy Hollow as a seasonal employee effective August 2nd, 2021, at an hourly rate of $16, not to exceed 16 weeks, and be under the direct supervision of the Assistant Highway Foreman. Be it further resolved, background checks for this applicant have been completed and are satisfactory. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would just add that normally these kinds of things come up in our work sessions, but they're feeling the pinch in DPW right now, and the assistant highway foreman found somebody he thinks will be good, and we should help him out. So I will thank you all for voting yes, and I will ask, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? And it's approved. Thank you.
It's ironic that I got the last one. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approving fundraiser. Be it resolved that the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approves a car wash fundraising event for the Sleepy Hollow Football Boosters on Saturday, August 21st it will be, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Village Hall parking lot. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Just by the way of discussion, it will be like they have in the past, when you come in and go around, and it should be a good event for everybody. So first go out and buy ice cream and listen to some great music tomorrow night, and then a few weeks later, get your car washed.
Right.
Okay? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Resolution's approved.
Thank you for supporting the fundraiser.
The old business, new business, I frankly, unless somebody has something they really need to talk about in terms of ARPA funds, not APRA funds, I prefer to hold off until the work session. Okay.
Just,
Any other old business or new business?
I guess new business. So question on how DOT contacted us to tell us that we're getting a crosswalk painted at Lawrence. I mean, this is news to me. Do we have any idea if they've been in touch with the village? We don't.
No one, it hasn't been brought to my attention.
I find it baffling that they have more communication with residents than they do with the village administrator.
It's a little odd.
It's, well,
I mean, unless they have been in touch with Anthony, we just haven't heard.
I
So
would
we should
doubt it.
touch base with Anthony. And then the other question is, if we are to submit painting requests to DOT, what form does that take? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Those have been in-person requests. Those have been in writing requests. And those have been in the form of plans that we've submitted along with those verbal and written requests.
Mhm. Is there an opportunity for any major restriping, or are we just talking about
Yeah, I think
painting what's there?
absolutely.
So we have that opportunity right now?
I think there's a great opportunity. I think you
Interesting.
can do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it is, DOT is a longer discussion, and we could review that at our next work session,
Sounds good.
okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
It'll give an opportunity for certainly the two newer members of the board to have to hear some of the things that have gone on, or hopefully at least all the major things that have gone on over the last several years. So we'll put that on.
Great.
Any other new business or old business? Ms. Bucci, I know I have some communications that I want to highlight. I'll just run through some, and then if you have anything to add. A couple, we all received emails from Ann White regarding the zoning, proposed zoning amendments, and also a request on how the affordable units at Edge on Hudson were going to be allocated. We received an email rather, from David Macaluso. Mr. Macaluso, I apologize if I'm slaughtering the pronunciation of your name, but a resident at Sleepy Hollow Road complaining about excessive speeding on Sleepy Hollow Road between Bedford and Weber Avenue, and requesting speed humps, and saying that folks are avoiding Weber to come around to Sleepy Hollow, and it's locals and people trying to get to Rockefeller and everybody else. I would ask Ms. Bucci if you could, I'll reach out to I'll reach out to David and let him know that we have received his communication, and that we have adopted a policy for speed humps, and the first step on a speed hump policy is the neighbors on the affected streets. You need to get a petition signed by a majority of the folks that are on those streets. It's not the only way. We can always decide to do it on our own as a board, of course, but it's a policy we adopted, and the ones that we just did followed that same procedure. So I'd like a copy of the policy sent to him as well. We also got a couple of different emails from Wendell Brand, who was complaining about noise and other quality of life issues downtown. I think a couple of those, in talking to the chief, were related to events surrounding memorials for the young man who was murdered downtown. So Mr. Brand, we hear your distress on this. The chief has addressed that in part this evening already by notifying us that the on-foot patrols are already in place and will continue downtown, and we will continue to monitor this as well to do what we can to lessen the noise and disruption for you and the other folks that live in our downtown. Mr. Brand also asked for a speed hump in the neighborhood of 103 Cortlandt, so just up from where Clinton Street comes in. So same thing, we'll be reaching out to say we do have a policy, and we'll look at that. send that to him and see what we can get there. And we can follow up on that as well. I also received an email this afternoon from Mr. Welsh of Weber Park, urging me to sign on to the Route 9 letter with the other mayors from the river towns supporting the Route 9 study. Mr. Welsh, I will thank you for your email, and I'll respond to you separately. And my response will be similar to what the response would be to the one of the young women who spoke earlier this evening, and that is we've been working with DOT, and we'll talk about it in more detail, for years. And we continue to work with them, and we work hard at that. I don't believe, and I continue to believe, that the Route 9 study, implementing what's in the plan, is not the answer. Mr. Welsh was concerned about walking across the intersection from New Broadway across at the red light there, and I assumed over towards the auto detailing folks who across Route 9. And the plan doesn't really address that in any way that makes an improvement for that actual crosswalk other than what's there right now. The plan, in fact, has some things in it right now that I'm sure Mr. Welsh would not approve of. For instance, making that same intersection a bike path diagonally through the intersection. Which to me is beyond warped, that anybody on a bicycle would ride through the middle of the intersection, or worse, would send their kid through the middle of an intersection like that, one as busy as that. I would urge people to please go and look at the plan. When you tell us to that we should endorse this, or I should sign on to it as the mayor on behalf of this board and this village, please look at the plan first and see if you agree with some of these things. You know, a bike path that goes on the school side and ends at Patriots Park and has a crosswalk. How we do a crosswalk in the middle of Route 9 there, I don't know, but a crosswalk there to a bike path that then ends right there and picks up on the other side of Tarrytown. We're accomplishing what? It's the walk lights on Bellwood. In order to have a walk light, I think you have to have a traffic light. So that means we should be putting in, at our expense, a traffic light on every intersection on Bellwood so that we can have a bike lane. Raise your hand if you've ever seen a bicyclist stop at a stop sign. Okay? I mean, it's like, folks, we are working hard. We take this very seriously. We're working directly with DOT. It takes way longer than it should, but we are staying at it, and we will continue until we get what we need here in Sleepy Hollow. All right. Would anyone like to address the board?
I do actually have some that you didn't have.
Okay. Ms. Bucci, please take it away.
We did receive an acknowledgement of zoning revisions from Westchester County Planning Board. Several emails regarding the Beekman survey from Sal Diaz, Karen Lane, Cheryl Capello, and Santo Mallow. And then just received one from Jordan Margolis regarding Route 9 active transportation project.
Okay. Thank you. Please make sure that all of those are circulated to the board members.
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any I don't see any civilians in the room, so just staff. So I'll take it that no one is going to be here to address the board, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Before doing that, I just want to thank Sean McCarthy for stepping in as acting administrator this evening. When I first was on the board, you were acting administrator for more than an evening, as I recall, and handled it ably.
And he dressed the part, I mean,
Yeah.
pretty sharp.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Seconded.
All right, I guess.
Yeah.
Tom. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.